steps that we just described. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And it was rough at the beginning, and I got a little bit better, and over time, I was able to feel real comfortable with it. And as soon as I felt comfortable telling my story, I was much better at telling that story and then doing the thing, introducing people to third parties. So the story works for your prospect. It also works for other people's prospects. If you are on my team and you're going to introduce me to a prospect to me, the first thing I'm going to ask the prospect, is it okay if I tell you my story real quick? Nice to meet you, Sally. Is it okay if I tell you my story? I tell the prospect the story, and then I have an introduction in order to be able to give the facts, okay? So that's the first thing that you need to master is your story for your prospects and for other people's prospects. Second, your opportunity presentation, and I apologize for my handwriting, but you're gonna have to live with it. Your opportunity presentation, you need to learn. And when they told me whoever holds the marker makes the money, I was like, all right, I gotta learn this. I gotta get up in front of people. I wanna be one of those people at the local meeting. I wanna be one of the people who can do a presentation at a moment's notice. And up until then, I'd been dragging people to events and putting people in front of tools, but now I had a team and I needed to learn how to do the opportunity presentation. So here's what I did. You can decide what you're gonna do. I recorded the presentation from the #1 earner in the company. I recorded that presentation and I played it back word for word and I wrote it on a legal pad. Because he did the same presentation every single time. Same joke, same introduction, same close, same everything. So I wrote it down word for word. So I, play, rewind, play, rewind, play, rewind, pause, wrote it all down, longhand, on a legal pad. And then I recorded my own voice doing the presentation. Back then it was on audio cassette. You could do the same thing, record it on your phone, whatever. But I recorded my own voice on audio, and then I put that audio into my car and I listened to it 1,000 times. I'm an introverted person, so presenting was a scary thing for me, very scary. It might be scary for you. But they told me whoever holds the marker makes the money. I'm like, okay. So you know how I tricked my mind? And sometimes you need to trick your mind. I'm an introverted person, but I could act. And I pretended like I was rehearsing for a one-man play, like a little Broadway play that just had one man, and I had a monologue that was about 30 minutes long. And I needed to learn my lines. And that's what I did. I listened to that recording 1,000 times, over and over and over, with my own voice, until I had it cold. I could do it today. I mean, I had it so burned into my brain, and here's what happened. As soon as I was really good with this, my confidence went through the roof. Because I could do a 3-minute version on the phone. Company, product, compensation, timing, support. Psh, call to action, let's go. I could do a 15-minute version of the same thing over lunch. I could do a 20-minute version in somebody's living room. I could do a 40-minute version at the hotel. I could spread it out and do a 2-hour version if I wanted to do a training on it. No problem. Once I learned this, I stopped being afraid to talk to people, especially other people's people. Now, I wasn't using this for my prospects because I would lose third party. I was only using this for other people's prospects. Bring your prospects to me. You provide the people, I'll provide the presentation. But what happened was, I got good at this, and what happened was my team started to build confidence in me They're like, all we have to do is bring more people to Eric. Let me get Eric on a Skype with somebody, one of my prospects. Let me get Eric on a Zoom, and I'll bring a bunch of prospects on a Zoom. Let me have Eric come to the house for a home party. Let me have Eric do this. Let me have Eric do that, because Eric brings results. I was like, wow, a whole new chapter changed for me. Third is learning how to do a getting started training. A basic training. Like first steps. We have a course here inside of GoPro Academy called First Steps that you can incorporate to create a basic getting started in your company. How do you get started? Somebody joins, you know, like, what if you were so good at training somebody that you could take these elements or whatever your company provides, and you could do a getting started training for all the new team members that joined your organization once a week or once a month. And people were so confident in your ability to train those people that they just would recruit them like crazy with confidence. They'd bring them into that, and you could provide the training. Once I learned that, that was like phase 3. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Uh-oh. Four was skills training. Can you learn enough to do a Super Saturday? Can you learn enough to do 8 hours of training? Can you do 1 hour on each skill? Can you go through GoPro Academy or inside the 7 skills in 7 days and turn that into your own style of how you're going to be able to train the skills? Okay? And then the fifth is like a keynote, a signature talk, a inspirational talk, something so good that your company would want you to give it on stage, something so good that people would invite you to and fly you in to their market. Please just tell that story. Something so amazing, which you can develop, you can actually do, okay? So these were the steps for me. For other people's prospects, I became the third party, and that's what you need to become. And you might not think, hey, I just don't have the skills for this. I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Here's what I would tell you. If you start with story that you can use on both sides. Over here, you're telling the story, doing the thing. Over here, you're telling the story as a tool to be able to help educate someone and build a connection, provide information. Then you learn the opportunity presentation. So great. I mean, look, if you'll just commit to this, you can become great. If you'll just decide, if you're introverted, fine, pretend you're an actor and you're learning your lines. Decide you're not just going to be dragging people to somebody else's Zoom call for the rest of your life. You're not just going to be dragging people to somebody else's event for the rest of your life. Your team needs you, not your upline. Your team needs you, not the company. Your team needs you, not some other leader in the organization. They need you. I did this, my team, and I was able to do the story and give the facts. My team started to bring people to me. I did this, my team started to invite with more confidence than ever before because they knew if they got them in front of me, I was going to help them get some results. Now, I gave you my roadmap for this. Then I learned how to do a getting started training. I modeled the best trainings I could find. Then I learned how to do skills training. I modeled everything that I learned and the best skills I could find. I learned how to do a keynote. Now, if you listen to some of my earlier stuff, even if you listen to some of what I do now, you'll hear influences from lots of different speakers. You'll hear sometimes it's a little bit of Les Brown. There's a lot of Jim Rohn in there. Sometimes it's real teachery like Brian Tracy. Sometimes it's a little whimsical like an Og Mandino. But it evolves. So I got to tell you, here's how I evolved. So I'll give you an example. Jim Rohn never left the podium. He was always right here. He had his little journal, and he would teach right from there, and he never moved. So guess what? For the first 5 to 10 years, I never moved. I literally stood behind that podium, and I trained. And then I got a little bit more confidence, and look, I modeled other people. I copied other people almost word for word. If they had a story that they told that was effective, I told the same story. I just literally copied great people. And then I started to see other people. I watched people like Tony Robbins who got away from the podium and started moving around. So I'm like, so I moved to the side of the podium a little bit. I moved to this side of the podium a little bit. And then I slowly found my voice like an awkward kid at the dance who's afraid to get on the dance floor. Eventually I said, you know what? I'm going to start moving around. And now I'm not on stage very much at a live event. I may be on stage 20% of the time. I'm off stage, moving around in the crowd, super comfortable, because that became part of my personality. And I developed my own sense of humor after copying everybody else's sense of humor. I developed my own style, my own clothing style, my own storytelling style. I focused on really giving a damn because I knew that if I could communicate to people how much I cared, that they would listen to what I had to say and I could help them. And I think people could feel that. Hopefully you can feel that. So what I'm saying is it's okay to copy somebody else. I remember early on in my career, my life, I was really interested in theater. And I had a mentor who's since passed away, but this mentor, he was trying to help me kind of unlock out of my shell. I was so introverted, so timid. He said, Eric, just be yourself. Big problem, I didn't like myself. So I said, that doesn't help me. I would much rather imitate, parrot, totally copy somebody else that gets results, and then I'll work on adding my style later. That's what worked for me, is copying somebody else and adding my style after the fact. So what I'm here to tell you is, and look, confidence is a big thing, building your confidence, being stronger, and for today, we don't have time to get into all of it, but we have a course called Unstoppable Confidence. This is available to you. We sell this for $300. It's available to you inside of GoPro Academy. It has program transcriptions, video, and workbook on how you can become more confident in presenting and in learning how to be a good presenter for your team. So I want to kind of close by telling you a story about this, number 5. Keynote. I had learned how to do my story. I had learned in my 20s. I had learned how to do an opportunity presentation. I had learned how to do a getting started training. I learned how to do a skills training. I'd never really done a keynote. I kind of consider myself, even now, I don't consider myself an inspirational guy. I don't consider myself a motivator. I consider myself a teacher more than anything else. But I was 1993, I believe. I just had my biggest year, 29 years old. I'd made $980,000 that year. And I'm in the top 10 of my company. And I remember I was standing next to the #1 earner in the company and the CEO of the company. And we're going to have a convention at America West Arena.